Oh, Captain, my Captain. It's a new year, guys. We're trying to fucking carpe that diem, you know what I'm saying? If you haven't already seen this movie, I'm going to explain it. And there's going to be spoilers, but this movie's from the fucking 90s, so if you haven't, whatever.
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Sit down, Mr. Anderson. You hear me?
That's right. Today we're talking about Dead Poets Society. If you haven't seen this movie, I don't know what you're doing, and that's what we're basing this new year on. This is a New Year's movie. Trying to fucking seize the day, fucking suck the marrow out of life. If you haven't seen this already, it stars countless people, but notably Robin Williams as the teacher, Mr. Keating, that really inspires these kids to be individuals and to follow their dreams and to not put up to authoritarianism. And also it stars Ethan Hawke in his first breakout role. I think he had like one or two roles before this, but this was the first time that he really sort of popped into the mainstream. This movie is about a group of boys, specifically Todd, Ethan Hawke, that gets put into this boarding school for boys up in Vermont. And while it happens to be Todd's first year, it also happens to be Mr. Keating's first year as a teacher because he also attended the school when he was a boy. Now, Todd gets placed in a boarding room with Neil, who is sort of one of the smartest boys at the school, and he has a lot of friends. And so you get introduced to his, various friends. So then comes their first day of classes, right? They come into their class, their English class. There's Keating, right? He's in the back fucking off. And then the boys are all like, oh man, like school kind of sucks, whatever. Because apparently in boarding schools, I didn't know this because I went to public school. I am from the Northeast, but I went to public schools. Apparently they're studying real hard every day. They're doing like study groups every night. I'm like, what the fuck? I never did a study group once in my life, but that's probably my problem, and that's probably why I'm not making that much money. So on their first day of class is sort of the thematic beginning of this movie, which Mr. Keating, Robin Williams, explains to them what carpe diem means. It means seize the day.
Believe it or not, each and every one of us in this room is one day going to stop breathing, turn cold, and die.
And he describes poetry, and he describes how you need to be seeing things in a new way and how you shouldn't be like everybody else. And he even tells them to tear the fucking, there's like a mathematical equation on how to do poetry, and he tells them to rip it out of the book. So their textbook, everybody rips that part out of the book. Then the movie proceeds on to, other classes, like other days of classes that they do, and they do things like stepping on top of their desks to view things from a different perspective. They do outside, they have like a whole thing where they're marching around together, and they're encouraged to march in different ways, right? So they can have like their own fucking swag. And then one of the kids, I forget his name, but he doesn't move. And he's like, what are you doing? And he's like, exercising my right not to move. And it's like, all right, we get it. You're fucking cool, whatever. Now, during this time, his sort of stuff that he's doing, because obviously this type of teaching is not normal there. It's very like, lecture-y at this school. So him going outside doing these different things, it attracts like the headmaster's attention. He's like, what the fuck's going on over here? Additionally, during this time, the boys end up looking for, because they start getting into Mr. Keating. They're like, wow, this guy's really cool. He's encouraging us to live our lives, to take chances. And so they look into Mr. Keating's year in the yearbooks that they have. They find his cute little picture. It's funny. And then they say, under his picture, it says what he's a part of. And one of them is Dead Poets Society. And so they ask him, they go, what's the Dead Poets Society? And he goes, oh man, I don't want to tell you about that. And they go, no, please tell us. And so finally he explains to them, him and his friends created this little group where they would go to this cave in the woods nearby the school when he used to go there, and that they would read poetry, recite their own poetry, and, in general, sort of try to seize their day and appreciate art as a whole. And so the boys were like, dang, like, let's restart this. So the main core group, including Todd and Neil, end up going out into the woods one night, and then they start doing it regularly. An additional side story is that Knox Overstreet, one of the other boys, falls in love with this girl who has a boyfriend. And so obviously it's an all-boys school, so he like does things like barges in her school, like, her public school when she's there, and tries to like read her a poem that he wrote and like give her flowers and confess his love. She's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, and that sort of evolves into him. They're at a party and she's like sleeping and he's like trying to carpe diem. And so he tries to kiss her, which is kind of weird. You should probably figure that out while she's awake. But anyway, so he does it, and then, it becomes a whole thing with her boyfriend and whatever. But and when he goes and tells her that he loves her, he comes back to the school and all the guys are like, what happened? What happened? And finally he says, I did it. And then like, what'd she say? And he's like, nothing. but I did it. And it's like, I really like that. You know what I mean? Just the fact that you even did something, that's really worth it.
What'd she say?
Nothing.
Nothing? What do you mean, nothing?
Nothing. But I did it.
What did she say?
I would say during all this time that the boys are getting really into it, the person that's really leading the charge is Neil, who is, as you remember, Todd's roommate, who has really good grades. And we see at the beginning of the movie that his dad's really strict with him. And it's kind of like, do what I say. And once you grow up, you can do whatever you want. And even before he even figures out about the Dead Poet Society, makes him pull out of a different extracurricular because he's like, I want you to focus on school, so don't do other shit. So anyway, Neil wants to seize the day as much as he can, right? Because he's probably one of the kids that's most into it. So he sees that there's a play going on at a nearby theater and he wants to try out for it. He's like, you know what? I've always wanted to try acting. You know, like, let's do it, right? He's like, you know what? I'll just go try. And Todd even is like timid. He's like, should I, like, what's your dad going to think about this? And he goes, come on, man. Like, are you on my side or not? Like, we're trying to do something here. Dead Poet Society, we have to do something, you know? So yeah, so Todd goes on, tries out for this play, gets the lead role, and is super excited, but then he realizes he's like, I can't tell my dad this. If I tell my dad, he's gonna fucking beat my cheeks, you know? But then he talks to Keating, and Keating's like, you gotta tell your dad. So he tells his dad, and then his dad's like, don't do it. And then he talks to his dad again, and then his dad's like, all right, you can do it, but no more after this. Like, you can finish what you started, but no more. Then for Todd's role in all of this, because we haven't really talked much about Todd. He's kind of like a background character, Ethan Hawke's character, throughout the whole thing. He's kind of like a through line. He's kind of some of the most changed. The two most changed are obviously Neil and Todd. And Todd being a sort of timid boy who really just wants to get his work done, is very unassuming. He goes through a thing where in class they all have to read their own poems. It kind of comes towards the end of class, like the duration of their semester or whatever, and they have like a sort of major project where they have to read their own poems out loud to the class. And when they have to, some kids take it silly, some kids don't. Some are better than others. Obviously, these are people just doing poems. You know what I mean? Not all of them are going to be good. And Todd wrote one, but he's like, you know what? I didn't do anything, whatever, right? But Keating's like, I know that you must have done something. And he's like, you know what? Come up here. We're going to make it even harder for you, basically. He's like, I want you to face your fears. So he brings him up to the front of the class, and he starts sort of covering his eyes and like sort of encouraging him, like giving him like guidance through making a poem live. And then all the kids stop and look at him like, oh shit, like he actually just fucking popped off.
You make him do something.
His hands reach out and choke me.
That's good. Wonderful, wonderful.
And all the time he's mumbling.
What's he mumbling?
Mumbling truth.
Yeah.
Truth, like a blanket that always leaves your feet cold.
So Keating's teachings are really hitting these kids hard and really in a meaningful way, but also Gail, their headmaster, is getting suspicious that something's going on because Charlie publishes in the school paper that they need to accept girls, and he writes that it's by the Dead Poet Society. You know, he doesn't give a name to who wrote this little article, and obviously that causes a big talking point there in the school. Apparently, oh no, we shouldn't be taking girls, which is, first of all, that's stupid. I don't know. It's just a weird thing that like they would be so upset. We're not taking girls, boys only. Yeah. So the principal's like, who the fuck did this? And then in the middle of all the boys in this auditorium, the phone rings and Charlie answers the phone. He goes, oh, hey, fucking principal bitch tit. The phone's here. It says that we want girls at the school. And then everyone's like, ha, ha, ha. But then he's like, gets called in and he gets paddled. And then the headmaster's like, you need to tell me what this Dead Poet Society is. And Charlie's like firm. He's like, no, I'm not saying anything. And so then he kind of gets a little slap on the wrist and he's like, all right, go on your way, whatever, you know. And this is actually a change for Keating because he talks to all the boys, specifically Charlie, but all the boys, that's kind of a dumb thing to do. He's like, you want to seize the day and you want to stand up for yourself and you want to be independent, but you don't want to be stupid. You know what I mean? He's like, you didn't need to go out of your way to try to get kicked out of this school. You can still be yourself and stand up for yourself, but not be just like blatantly trying to get yourself pushed out of things. You know, it kind of makes no sense. So then kind of comes the climax of the film. It's the night of the play that Neil's in, and he doesn't expect his dad to be there, obviously, but the play goes on. Everyone's there, Keating and all the boys, and everyone is like, woo, like, you're so fucking good. Like, he does really incredible at the play, and he feels like finally for the first time in his life, he's doing something that he likes and he's actually good at it. You know what I mean? He's like, wow, what the fuck? Carpe this fucking DM, bitch. Then towards the end of the play, he like looks over and he realizes his dad's in the back watching. He's like, oh, like, I don't know how to feel about that. Like, does he realize that I'm good? You know, and as a viewer, you're like, I don't know what's going on. So then the play ends and, you know, everyone's like clamoring, the standing ovation. Everyone's trying to get his attention, but he goes and changes in the back room. He comes out after everyone's kind of left and like cleared out, and like his dad gets to him. He's like, come on, we got to fucking go. He's like kind of mad with him. So then you realize his dad is not a fan of this. Not that we kind of thought that he would be, but, and then on his way out, Keating's there with all the boys and they're like, dude, like you did amazing. You want to come with us? And Keating's like stops him in his tracks and like tries to tell him for real, like, you were amazing. I'm so glad you did this. Like, you know, like a really proud speech to him. And his dad pulls him away and then tells him like, Mr. Keating, don't you ever talk to my son ever again. You're you know, basically like you're fucking everything up for him and me. And then puts him in the car and they go home. And so then comes the scene where they're back at the house, Neil and his mom and his dad, who his mom has never been in the film yet, but she is the type that's very submissive, very enabling of the father. Like whatever he wants, she wants. You know what I mean? Like even if she's upset, because you can tell she's visibly upset that he's yelling at their son and that the father reveals to Neil that he's like, I don't like what's going on at that school. We're going to be pulling you out of there. We're going to be putting you in a military academy. And we want you to be going now to medical school, which is going to take even longer than what they had originally planned for him. So then Neil's like, what the fuck? No, like that's 10 more years. Like, I don't want to do that. And the dad's like, you're going to do exactly what I say and you're not going to have any say in it. And then once you become an adult and get out of school, then you can do whatever you want. Which, you know, he said earlier in the film, but reiterating. And so then Neil, you know, you can see in his face, he doesn't know what to do, but you can also see that it's like, he's being stoic. He's like holding himself back. His mother is clearly like upset, but she's not going to do anything, which bad on you, mom. And he goes, okay. And then they go, okay. He doesn't say anything else. And they all go to bed. Neil gets up out of bed. He is like naked or something. I don't know. Or he's wearing like part of his play costume. And he walks downstairs and there's like this ominous music. He's walking through and he opens up the window. There's like a cold breeze. And he goes down into his dad's office, pulls something out of the drawer. And then you realize it's a gun. And the kid shoots himself. He's like, if I can't play in this fucking play and I can't live my own life, I'm gonna fucking die on this. He kills himself. The dad and mom come downstairs. They find him. They're freaking out. Like, oh God, oh God.
Oh my God! Oh! Oh my son!
He's all
My
right.
son, my poor son!
He's all right. He's all right. He's all right. He's all right.
And it cuts now to the school where Todd is woken up. Charlie's like, Neil's dead. And so then you see the boys kind of dealing with it, specifically Todd, being like, no, like the dad must have shot him. The dad must have shot him. It couldn't have been him. He wouldn't have done that. And then they all kind of come to the conclusion that it is true. And so then the school has to do something about it because one of their kids has killed themselves. And so now the principal knows that since he was a part of the Dead Poet Society, well, he doesn't know that actually, but he knows that he was influenced by Keating, that something's going on. And so he needs to really get down to it. And so he starts interviewing all the boys about what the fuck's going on, everyone in like Mr. Keating's class. And one of their guys, this little fucking twerp, I don't even remember his name. I was just trying to think of his name. I don't even remember the little twerp's name, but he confesses to the principal, like, because he doesn't want to get pressure. He's like, okay, Mr. Keating, it was kind of his idea. He kind of came up with the Dead Poet Society, and we've been influenced by it. And tells who everybody is in the group. All the boys get called in, and we don't really get to see it, but Todd is the final one called in, right? And we get to see his parents there, and then the principal talks to him like, oh, we know you've been in Mr. Keating's class, and he's been doing weird things with you guys, and you've been a part of this Dead Poet Society group. We just want you to sign here that Mr. Keating was the one that influenced Neil into, you know, kind of killing himself. They want to put the blame on him so that they can fire him, and then the school takes no liability, and they can continue, right? Todd is very conflicted. He's like, I don't want to, right? He's like, what the fuck? And then he gets handed the paper and he realizes, you look down and you realize every single boy from the group has signed already. And so then you come to the conclusion that all the boys gave up and they all signed. And Todd, you think Todd's gonna be the only one that doesn't sign because he's obviously one of the most influenced by this, and ultimately he does. Then it cuts to them coming into class, you know, the next day or the next week after the weekend or whatever it was. And Mr. Keating has to move out of his classroom. So the principal actually is teaching in the class for that day. He's like, all right, we're going to start teaching now. He goes, all right, open up your books. Where were you guys at? And all the guys are like, well, we were kind of jumping around. I don't know. We're not really, because they weren't following the book at all. And then he's like, all right, well, open up to this page, the first page that's like serious with the thing that they ripped out. And he goes, all right, can anybody read this for me? And all of them are like, no, it's gone. And he goes, all right, fine. So he gives the book to somebody, his own book, the principal's own book, gives it to somebody. And he goes, all right, read it. And then he starts reading it. And as he's reading it, Keating comes in and goes, hey, I just need to grab a couple of things. Let me, whatever. The principal's like, all right, grab him quick. So he goes in the back. He starts grabbing some stuff. As he's leaving, Todd stands up because he's so wrought with guilt that he goes, I'm sorry, like, the school made us sign it. None of us wanted to sign it. I didn't want to sign it. The school made us, I promise. And the principal's like, sit down, bitch. Sit the fuck down. And Mr. Keating's like, I know. It's okay. Like, it's fine. And then as he's finally about to leave, he's opening up the door. Todd stands up, boom, 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 up on the top. He stands up on the desk and he's like, oh, Captain, my captain. And he's like, oh shit, like to show, what they showed them earlier in the movie. At the very beginning, he had them all stand on their desks, say that you could call me, oh, Captain, my captain, or you could call me Mr. Keating. And oh, Captain, my captain is a reference to the Walt Whitman poem to Abraham Lincoln. But most of the kids stand up and kind of show Keating, you've made a major influence in my life. We really didn't want to kick you out of the school. They felt like they had no choice. You know what I mean? And they're kids and they have their whole life ahead of them and they really didn't want to do it, but they felt the pressure. And Keating kind of looks back and acknowledges all of them. The principal's freaking out, like, everybody get down. I'm going to suspend all of you, whatever. And Mr. Keating turns to all of them and is like, thank you guys, and leaves, like acknowledging what they've done there is actually a positive, although it came out with a negative.
Thank you, boys. Thank you.
There was no ill will. Mr. Keating didn't try to kill fucking Neil, and he wasn't trying to get fired. You know what I mean? He was just trying to teach these kids an actual important lesson, not just putting them through school so they can go become doctors and lawyers. He wanted to teach them how to appreciate life, the beauty, the art of life, which I'm like, hell the fuck yeah. So that's the whole movie. And that's why we're talking about it in the new year, because I'm trying to fucking carpe diem this bitch. You know what I'm saying? I'm hoping to try to do one of these a week if I can. That's my goal, is one of these a week. So please comment down below about a movie you'd like me to talk about. I'll explain it and then talk about it. And I remember seeing this movie when I was in high school, right? At the time I had hair and everyone said I looked like Knox Overstreet. So then I remember having like a particular liking to the film. I was like, what is this? And so I watched it a couple times, when I was young. And so I hadn't watched it since. And as the new year came around this year, I was like, you know what? I would like to watch this again and sort of see if I can collect a new mindset for the next year, because I'm trying to do all kinds of things. Robin Williams does one of his best performances because he really, he like, you don't see him as Robin Williams in this movie, even though clearly it's Robin Williams. It's just like he embodies the essence of a powerful teacher like that really believes in what he's preaching. And also all the boys that are in this are so young, right? Like Ethan Hawke, this being one of his first major roles. He even said, I watched a thing with him recently talking about this experience and how it felt like sort of a crash course in acting for him, because Robin Williams would freestyle, on set, like improv, and he would encourage them to do the same, and how it shouldn't just be like, they should really feel it out, the role. How this is going to influence me in the new year, I think I want to try to not sit at home so much, you know what I mean? Or when I'm at home, I want to be doing something. I don't want to just be sitting around watching whatever on YouTube. I want to try to be more intentional with my life, and that's why I'm hoping to fucking oh Captain, my captain this year, and I hope you guys are too. Please leave a like or subscribe, because I'm hoping to do this more and more throughout the year. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next week.